Good morning. I forgot my sign today, so I just went to move it and it's not there. Someone's moved it for me. Let me just check in, let you all sign in if you would like to have a bit of a chat. Please refresh your page if you can't see me. I've just put a note up on there. So I'll just give you a moment or two to do that. Good. Okay, so good morning, everyone. And just a little bit of clarification before we start. Well, number one, it's day 11. Brilliant. Day 11 already. I can't believe it. And what a beautiful day 11 it is. Bit of clarification on the 10 bulls. The video will start off saying farmer and his ox. That is the video that I refer to as the 10 bulls. Yes, there's only one bull in it. It's just one of those things. That's what the video, that's what the story is called, traditionally known as. But if you do watch the video that I put up on there, when it comes up and it's black and white and it's farmer and his ox even on there, that's the video that I intended for you to watch. I know there's a typo or maybe even two on there. Excuse me for doing that. I did that quite a few years ago, learning how to put all this together and learning how to edit film and everything else. So a couple of typos may well have escaped, but it's all real, as it were. It's all real. So what I'd like to do in today's session is conscious that now we are, you're now taking on board quite a bit of information, and I just want to spend a couple of minutes, just not too long, but just a few minutes if we can, to hand over to you at the beginning of the session. We're going to do another little short live chat later, but up until now, do you have any questions that you would like to ask me relevant to Qigong that I can help you with? Anything that might have come up, those of you who aren't on Slack, using the Slack, which I completely understand why, maybe this might be an opportunity for you to ask me some questions directly. So fire away if you do. I'm going to hang around and do this for a few minutes, and let's just see whether you're all happy at the moment or you would like to ask any questions. And yes, good morning everyone. So I see Christine and Patricia, Haley, hi, Lynn, hi. I know 10 balls only one. I just said, mentioned that. Diane, Gillian, and I know there are a few of you who've also logged on watching, but don't necessarily take part in the live chat. Absolutely fine. So far, so good. Absolutely brilliant. The 10 bulls, or farmer and his ox video, if you haven't watched it, please do spend sort of 7-8 minutes watching the film. The feedback from it has been really positive, and as I mentioned, it just perhaps helps you to understand your path on this journey of learning something new, and especially Qigong, which is learning something so different, and the tests that we face individually when we try and do something, when we want to try and create a positive habit in our lives. And I hope the video resonates with you. I really do. There's no questions coming through just yet. So I think we'll start. If everyone's good, that's brilliant. Everyone's good. I will try and keep an eye on this whilst I just start teaching, just in case there is a bit of a delay in them coming through. So remember that everything I'm sharing with you is a seed planted, and a particular seed might not be ready to flower yet, but that's fine. Don't feel like you are not doing Qigong if you can't do a certain aspect of what I'm sharing. Perhaps you're finding other aspects easier to do, or you resonate with more, and that's absolutely fine. Saying that, notice the things that are challenging you, and not necessarily physically. A lot of Qigong, as I mentioned right from the outset, is not just a physical exercise. This is a wholesome way of life. And sometimes when we practice the movements, it opens up different aspects of ourselves that we might find that we have put under the carpet or in the cupboard for a long, long time. And as with all of these things, they remain under the carpet and they will remain in the cupboard unless we do deal with them. So it is not unknown to do Qigong and cry, because you just let yourself go just that little bit onto something that you've been holding on to currently or for a long time. And I can honestly say that I have cried rivers of tears doing Qigong. And the release is just beautiful. And I have cried rivers of tears when I have least expected to cry. I'm just doing my Qigong, then all of a sudden something sort of bubbles up. And it is like that stream. It is like a freshwater stream that we want to be continuously flowing, and there's going to be birds that are dipping in and out of the stream. There are going to be fish. There's going to be greenery. It's going to be beautiful and healthy until something happens. There's a big wind and a tree falls down and falls across the stream and creates a bit of a blockage. Now, the stream is still going to find its way, albeit limited. It's going to find its way to perhaps now trickle through rather than running freely. But it still will find its way, but there's going to be something in the way. This tree is in the way. And over time, this tree is going to start to collect debris, leaves that have coming down through the stream, and it just starts to collect a bit more and a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And over time, there becomes such a influx of debris that the water finds it harder and harder and harder to flow through. So it starts to become a little bit more stagnant. And then we lose the fish to that part. Then we lose the birds. Then we lose the greenery. And it's not until we remove the tree that's created the original blockage that we can release. But what happens is that once that tree has been removed, the rest of the little bits of debris have to flush through. They don't just magically disappear. They have to flush through the stream until they have gone and stuck and disappeared off into the ocean. And it's very similar to our Qigong. Once we slowly start to do our practice and we start to remove the big blockages, sometimes there's a wave of emotion that follows, and that emotion could be tears, that emotion could be laughter, that emotion could be sadness, that emotion could be fear, that emotion could be grief. And all of those emotions are natural and okay. And it won't be long lasting. It's just a letting go of rather than holding on to. So if there is a part of the Qigong that you find challenging, not necessarily physically, but it's just, I don't feel comfortable doing that, chances are it's because you're holding back on something. So I invite you to slowly remove the bits of debris as to what's blocking your free-flowing stream. So let's move on. Let's move on. It always makes me very, very thoughtful when I say that, when I use that metaphor, because we've all been through stuff in our lives, and all of us, and we all have our own stuff, I like to call it. We all have our own stuff. We've all collected our own stuff, good and bad. And it's really important that we deal with this stuff. And it's really important that we can outwardly express it as well. And the beauty of doing this Qigong actually at home, so the beauty of this is that you can just let yourself go. You can just see what happens, see what arises. And if any of you do need a chat afterwards and you don't have anyone close by to chat with, then you know where I am. Just holler and I'll be here. So, as promised yesterday, we're going to move on with the second swing, and we're going to discuss and practice the pulsing, the importance of the pulsing. And they sort of combine as a teaching, which is why I teach these together. So, metaphorically, I've just mentioned the stream. Your body is the channel in which the stream flows. Your joints are places where you can create blockages. If the joints are locked, we are already going to create a blockage within our stream. Hence, going back to Wu Qi, we stand with our joints off lock to allow our stream to flow. One area, two parts of the body that tend to get blocked the most is this area here, the Kwa. And it's an area that as I mentioned before, are like sluice gates. And to open this area, we have to, it's not a case of opening it like this, that locks it like it does with our knees. So once we soften the joints and this area here deep inside the pelvis, then that allows our inner ocean to flow. When we open this and in our standing posture, and we are standing with our body off lock, this is open. And this is how we remain. Default way of standing, always, ideally. When we come to do our pulsing, movement 5 yesterday, I introduced you to the swimming dragon movement. The pulsing happens where we do this micro squat. Now I'm going to show you, and then we're going to do this together. So there's my stool, imaginary stool, but I want to show you with a prop. And forget about the C shape of the spine at the moment. That is for movement 4. That's uphold the moon, okay? This is a new way of opening up the back. Remember, it's varied movement we're looking for. So I'm going to perch on my stool. And in order to perch on my stool, rather than just falling back to hope that my stool is there, I want to bend my knees, engage my thighs. I'm going to place the karate chop of my hands on the either side of my pubic bone. And I'm just going to squat down and engage my sit bones, the bones at the base of your pelvis. And the sit bones are called such because they're the bones that should connect with the seat. And then just as I touch my seat, I'm overdoing this so you can see it, I'm going to use my thighs to come up. So I keep my spine straight, and when I mean straight, I'm not talking constantly vertically. It can stay straight, but it can tilt on the angle. It's tilting from my quad, you see, not from my lower back, but from here. So it's like I'm about to perch on a stool and rise. Of course, the stool's not there usually, but I just want to use it as a prop to show you what this movement is that we're trying to do. Now, this all comes from your thighs. You're engaging your calves, so this is going to be strengthening your legs, your hips, your knees, your ankles, and it gets right to the core. So it can be quite challenging, and that's fine. We need to be challenged. But take your time, okay? Take your time, and let's do this together. So feet hip width apart. Okay, so let's use the karate chop side of the hands. Place them either side of your pubic bone, so it should be on the diagonal. So it's on the crease, the inguinal creases. Okay, so with your knees bending, don't push the bum out. Just let your spine be straight and just gently create this squat. Now, your knees don't bend past the line of your toes. This will enable you to fold into the quad area here, which is opening it. Now, don't go too low. Use your thighs to come back up, but don't lock your knees or the quad. Good, let's do that again. Breathe freely. So this is opening the quad, opening the sluice gates, removing the debris, the blockages of the body that we find here and here. And, as I mentioned yesterday, this action engages your thighs and uses your thighs like engines, and it pushes and pulls your inner ocean up and down, pushing and pulling your energy, nutrient-rich ocean. There we go. Good. Okay. Conscious that you already might be feeling it. So have yourselves a little shake out the legs. Okay. So that's how we do our pulse. That's what we call the pulse, and that pulse acts like a biological pump for the body. So to make sure that you are engaging your sit bones, I'd like you to grab the base of your bottom, and using your fingers is to try and connect with your sit bones. Okay. And now do exactly as you were doing and just feel those bones at the base of the pelvis engage and come back up again. You're not trying to manipulate your pelvis or tuck it in or push it out. You're just keeping your spine straight and just taking a perch and coming back up. Keep an eye on your knees. By all means, look down, make sure your knees aren't bending too much. Now, when you see me do this, I'm doing quite big movements. Number one, I'm used to doing it. And secondly, I need to do them fairly big in order to show you what the action looks like. By no means do you need to be going down this low. It can be quite a subtle movement. There you go. So if you're normally seated when doing this, grab, if you can, hold on to the back of a chair and use the chair as your prop whilst you do this. And you can just do this as a standalone exercise to help open up the body and strengthen your legs. Okay, so I wonder how your legs are feeling now. Can you feel it already? Okay. So we're going to leave that pulsing for a moment. I don't want to over tire you. But we're going to still stay with the quad. Now we've opened up the quad up and down, okay? But the pelvis and the hips move outwards as well. You know, we can dance, and we need to be able to move our legs outwards for different times in life. We might need to, there might be a pothole on the ground that we haven't seen. Well, if we can't move our legs outwards with confidence, then we might well fall. So what we would want to do is to be able to open up the legs. But what we don't want to do is just use the knees to do that. Okay, so we again use the quad. So I have a book here. And it's not the book that I'm interested in, as in what's in the book. It's actually just to try and show you what I mean. So I'm going to put this book into my inguinal. You don't have to do this. It's again just to show you what's happening when we do this movement. So when I open up my quad down, if I just remove my fingers, the book closes. I'm squeezing it. And when it's subtle, but can you see what's going on with the book? It closes and opens. Closes and opens, creating this push and pull. But also what can happen is when I turn my leg outwards, the book can also open and close. So the book's just leaning into my quad. I'm not actually using my fingers to open it, but I hope you can see how the book opens and closes. That's just following what's happening to my quad. And the same the other side. So let's learn how to open up the quad in a different way, varied movement. So with your feet hip width apart as we were in Wu Chi, we're going to shift weight. And just like when we do the slosh, we bring our center of gravity over one side of the body. Remember, don't become a leaning Tower of Pisa. You don't want to be top heavy. This is top heavy. This is putting a huge amount of pressure in my knee and I'm likely to fall. So I keep my knees nice and soft and I move my center of gravity completely over that leg. Okay, so I'm still nice and stable and I don't feel like I'm going to fall. But what that's done is made this side heavy, weight bearing, and this side lighter, so I can really do what I want to do with it. Everything's resting on this side. So I come back to the center and it's almost like I rise a little and then I'm going to shift weight to the other side. And up. So together, let's do this. Standing with your spirit level centered. And it doesn't matter which side you go to. I'm going to go to my right if you want to follow me. If you want to feel like your whole body is moving together, then you can place your hands on your lower dantian and upper chest and just gently shift your weight across and back to the center and across. Back to the center. In a really controlled, intentional way. Deliberately, we are focusing on how we are moving our weight from one side to the other. Okay, good. Once you've got that, you can relax your hands. So now, as you shift your weight, I'd like you just to hold your weight there temporarily. In that leg, feel your thigh engaging, not the knee. So adjust how high and low you are, just so that you feel the thigh doing the work, not your knee. Remember, you can touch your thigh where you want it to, where you want to use it more. Good. Now with the other side, just like you saw me open the book, I would like you to turn your leg out from the croix, not from your foot, not from your knee, but from the croix. So you can pivot from your heel. So if you imagine that you're doing this with your heel, but the opening comes from the croix. Okay, as far as you are within 70% of what you're able to do. Okay, so it should, your foot, your knee should all be aligned facing the diagonal now, somewhere on the diagonal. For some people, it might be quite small, that's fine. It definitely doesn't go past 90 degrees, especially for you, those of you out there who are hypermobile, please be warned. So we open up from the croix and we close from the croix. Now bring your weight back to the center. Relax that leg for a moment. Let's go to the other side. Shift weight. Open up from the croix. Hold it there. Feel the croix is open. Just check your knees in line with your toes. Great, come back. So you're using the croix to close to bring your foot back in. Great. Up. Transfer weight other side. Open from the croix. Bring it back. And let's do that just a few times. So we use the croix to open and to turn the leg. Excellent. Now what I'd like you to do is whichever side you're going to is hold that posture there. Now look down at both knees. Check in with both knees. Your weight-bearing leg, your knee should be pointing in line with your toes and not buckled in. Okay, check the other knee, knee pointing toes. So you should feel spacious here. Excellent. Bring that in from the croix. Sink down the other side, open, hold that posture, have a look down, check knees in line. Brilliant, come back. Back to the center. Okay, good, shake out. Testing the legs, this is. And it's also going to be working your hips. And when we work our hips too, we're going to start to work the lower back. So by doing this, we're being the center of us as human beings. This is going to be really beneficial to helping to open up the legs and move the legs correctly, making sure your knees are stable, so we're not putting pressure into the knees, but we're also opening up the pelvic area and your hips and strengthening them too. So this brings us to swing 2. So swing 1, we're going to revisit now. Feet hip width apart. Using your lower dantian, gently swing. We've done this before. Let's do this again, gently. Don't try to be too big with any of the movements. So we're familiar with this. Nice and comfortable. Just gently spiraling the body. Good. Now swing 2, we slow it down. Transfer your weight exactly as we've just been practicing to the left. Let's do this together. Remember, not leaning Tower Pisa, keep yourself grounded. You want to be like a pyramid of Giza. Now open up from the croix the other side. Okay, bring it back. Transfer weight. Other side. Take your time. You don't have to go at my speed. Do this so you feel absolutely comfortable. Now this is called swing 2. So as you do this with your legs and you're comfortable doing this, if you feel confident too, we add the swinging of the arms too. Now it's very easy to forget about the knees when we do this, so let me just remind you to keep your knees pointing in line with your toes. This swing adds the gentle spiraling motion with the top half of the body. Make sure your weight-bearing leg, your knee is soft and pointing in line with your toes. It hasn't buckled in, so space between your legs. And welcome to swing 2. So just a few more. What I'd like you just to do now is to make sure that your spine is long. You've connected to the 3 treasures. Helium balloon for a head. Keep yourself nice and long. Drop your chin in slightly. Perfect. And there you have it. Swing 2. Have yourselves just a moment of rest. Shake out if you need to. And take on some water if you need to. So, I can't emphasize enough the importance of the quad. It's an area of the body that many of us disconnect with. It's an area of the body that we don't even learn how to move from here. And again, as I've mentioned several times, a bit like paying attention. Well, if you've never been told to pay attention or how to pay attention, how do we do it? And it goes the same for using this part of the body here. So that's why I encourage you to stand a little, even though you might not be able to do all of the movements standing. Just a few minutes will help you just to open up this area. Because 2 things can happen. If you do tend to stand a lot, but you lock yourself out, or up until these classes, I hope, you might find yourself locked out. This sort of bow shape happens with the body, the knees are locked. This is all stiff here. Or what we're doing is just training our body to be like that. And conversely, if we are seated a lot of the time, whether that's our choice or not, but if we are at a desk a lot, or we happen to find ourselves sitting a lot, then conversely we will just be sort of get caught in this position, this L-shaped position here. And not only that, but what happens then is if you're sitting down a lot, imagine what's happening to the back of your legs. Your back of legs, what we call, they in essence shorten. The fascia in the back of your legs get shorter because we're not using it so much. So your body will only give you what you demand from it. So if you sit a lot, your body's going to think, well, I don't need to move, so I'm just going to adopt this shape because that's what you're telling me to do. If you stand like this a lot, your body's going to say, okay, this is what you want me to do. So it's for us to be able to retrain our bodies with varied movement that comes at different angles, because we never know when we're going to need it. Because more often than not, we tend to hurt ourselves, put our back out for the silliest of things, like picking something up off the ground. It's like, oh, geez. because we don't ask our body to do that very often. So when we do it without thinking about it, something goes. Or if we do it and our body's not used to going into that position, then something goes. The word fascia I just mentioned, I will be detailing and going into some more depth later on in this course. Okay, that's enough of a break. Let's start off right from the beginning with our shaking, and then we'll go into our slosh, and then we'll go into swing 1, swing 2, and from then we'll go into the first 5 movements of the form. Compressing the pearl, flying hands, peacock fans its tail, uphold the moon, and the swimming dragon with the pulse that we've also learnt today. Okay, let's do this together. Enjoy. So feet hip width apart, parallel if you can. Settle in your body. Connect your 3 treasures. Always, always focusing on the rooting, the grounding, the foundation. Floating bones in your ocean body. Yawning armpits. Breathe. Good. Gently ease into a shake. Let go. Let yourself go. Let your breath be audible. Good. Shimmy those shoulders, shake your tail. Slow it down, and we're going to transition into the slosh, shifting weight. We know how to shift weight now. Don't lean, bring the center of gravity over one side, then the other. Good. Remember, don't have to try and create a huge wide stance. You might see me doing a wide stance, but for me this is quite natural. I'm quite tall. So my stance is naturally wider. Yi Dao, Qi Dao. Use your mind to lead and guide your inner ocean, sloshing, pouring from one side to the other. Breathe freely. When your mind does wander, because it will, and you notice that it's wandered, and then you sink your mind back into your body, recognize that. Give yourself a pat on the back. Well done for noticing. Good. And from here we're going to use the empty leg to come back in for a normal hip width start. Keep on moving into swing one, using your lower dantian to gently swing. So we've really done quite a bit of swinging today, so we're not going to overdo it. So in a moment, we're going to transition into swing two. So let's slow down but don't stop. Slow right down. Transfer, shift your weight, turn your foot out from your kwa, bring it back, and then the other side. Keep an eye on your knees, don't bend them too much. Good, well done. And feet facing forward. Just let your swing come to a natural standstill. Don't stop abruptly. Good. Find ourselves back into Wu Qi. Checking in with all of your layers. Good. Let your hands float out. Discover, feel your Qi. And let's do a few of each of the movements that we've learnt so far. Compressing the pearl, timed with your breathing. Breathing in, we open. As we breathe out, we close. Now you've learnt pulsing. Some of you may naturally be doing this already, but you can add a pulse into almost all your movements. So for this one, you might already see that I rise without locking, I pulse down, I sink, exactly as we've just been doing. Subtly engage your sit bones, fold into the qua. I open. Doesn't need to be big. Good. Movement 2. Flying hands. Palms turn, bend elbows, hands up. As they float down, why not just gently sink into your pulse? Not too much, little. Rise from your pulse. Breathe in. Breathe out. Good, well done. Movement 3, peacock fans its tail, fingers point down and between your feet. Draw 2 arcs. So we're moving our hands through thick air, just like puppets. And if you wish, you can add your pulsing. Wonderful. And next time the hands come out, we're going to transition to movement 4. Uphold the moon. No pulsing, C shape with the spine now. Palms turn. Bend knees, level with your toes, tuck under. Crane neck, soften the middle. And lift and inhale. Exhale. Bend knees, tuck under. Crane neck. Second bend in the middle of the spine. Now we're going to transition into swimming dragon. Slow it down, palms come down, we still sink. Palms come out in front of us, one palm faces up, the other palm faces down. As the hands move separate directions, the body rises. Turn your palms, as they come back into the center, the body sinks. Engage your sit bones. As they go past each other, the body rises. Turn palm, sink, rise. Good. Sink. Okay. I'd like you just to momentarily hold your posture here. Now breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in as your hands pass each other. Breathe out. And in and out. In, out. In and out. Good. Turn both palms down. Let them float down either side of you back into Wu Chi, right back where we started. Full circle. So shift your weight for a narrow stance. And let's close. Nice long extended inhale. Extended exhale. And close. Thank you. Thank you for today. I pushed you a little bit more today. You may well feel your legs, you may well feel your knees, you may well feel that your back's there. But a good achiness, I hope, just so that we know that we've started to engage the body. During the course of the day, even though you may feel tired now, just be sure to shake out and to move so all that opening that you've done remains opened and it doesn't seize back up into old habits. So over to you now if you have any questions that you'd like to put across to me. Now's your chance. Shall hang on in there. It always takes a few moments for your questions to come through, so long as you're writing questions, that is. Okay, so we'll see how you're feeling, see if you've got any questions. Here they come, Patricia. Yeah, a common one, fantastic question. During swing 2, you found your feet drifting apart, further and further apart. Should you try and control this? Yes, please, because otherwise you're going to do the splits. And we don't want you doing the splits. So, a really good question. The reason why that's happening is that you're probably not shifting weight enough. So when you come to do when you come to do this, what you're doing is actually, rather than pivoting from where your heel actually is, you're also moving your heel out, you're moving your whole foot out. And then when you bring it back, you're changing the position of your foot to where it started off originally. So if I show you, if you just notice subtly that I'm going to, or as I move my foot back, I put it back in a different position. And then before I know it, I've gone really wide. So go slower, shift your weight a little bit more. So, and as you go slower, you'll be able to pay a little bit more attention to your actual movement and what you're doing with your feet. Pivot from your heel. So your heel can stay in the same place at this stage. In time, you might be able to well move your feet, and that's fine, but these are really early days. So keep your heel in that position, pivot from the heel and bring your foot back, shift weight, pivot from your heel, bring your foot back. That means you're not going to change the position of your feet and hopefully won't start to do the splits. Okay, Jackie, you've found the same thing as Patricia. I hope I just answered your question. Christine, your scroll bar is not working. Push refresh, see what happens on your page. It might just get stuck. Maybe you've got a little scrolling monster in your system at the moment that's playing with your scroll bar. So yes, thank you very much for those. The same question. It is very common that if you move your feet and you don't pivot from your heel, you will end up doing the splits, or at least your legs moving apart. Just notice when that's happening, bring them back in, use your heel as a pivoting point to turn your foot out. Remember, it comes from the quad here. The slower we go on these with movements, any movements, the more time we've got to think about what we're doing. And actually the more control it takes to do the movements. So it's actually harder to do the movements slower, because we have to really deliberately focus on what we're doing rather than living outside of our body and just letting our body go into some sort of free-flowing movement, which is not what we're after to do. We want to be mindful of our movement. We want to sink our mind into our body and engage with that. Heather, legs aching, now going for a walk. Probably a good idea to go for a walk, just to stretch your legs out and cool down, as they say. So I hope you've got your scroll bar working, Christine. I'm not sure what's happening there. So please, if anyone else has any more questions, now's your opportunity to type them in. Of course, I know many of you are using Slack. Please use that. Please continue to use that. Share your experiences with each other. I know some of you recently have found that you've been interrupted at home when trying to do your practice, especially at the weekends. It's difficult, and I mentioned this before. I mentioned this last Friday, but it's really important that you get across to those who are perhaps disrupting you, just to let them know that this is really an important thing for you. So please try and consider what it is that you're doing, because actually if you get better within yourself, and whether you're working with a health condition or conditions, or actually you're just coming to Qigong because you love it, and you want to do something that's just inspiring and nourishing, put a do not disturb sign on your door, and if that fails, then if you can, try and get up a little bit earlier in the morning when there aren't so many people about. Potentially it could be another way. Jackie, finding swimming dragon difficult? Okay. Could you expand on that? What part are you finding difficult, Jackie? Is it the breathing that I've added in? Because that can sometimes throw things out. Or is it where you move your hands? So just type in again, if you wouldn't mind, where you're finding the swimming dragon difficult, and I can I try and help you with that. Good, good. So nothing's come through just yet. So what I'll do is we will focus again a little bit more on the swimming dragon tomorrow. And in the meantime, if you could just highlight to me, Jackie, and send me an email or a message whereabouts that you're finding that difficulty, then I can, as I say, tomorrow I'll be able to help you with that. Oh, here we go. Response commit. Not flowing yet. Well, yeah. It's some of these movements take time to flow. The first few movements are a little simpler. As we come into the middle of the form, they're a little bit more complicated, a little bit more challenging. Remember not to try too hard. Don't try too hard to get the movement right. See what happens. Let yourself go a little bit wrong. That's absolutely fine. And then it's when you go wrong, you can correct yourself. But if we're trying too hard up here and we're too much in our heads rather than in our body, then the two aren't going to communicate smoothly. So when you're doing the movement, even now, sitting down, just practice, okay? Do little miniature movements. This is what I want to aim to do. And slowly allow, once that becomes comfortable, make them bigger. If that becomes comfortable, you can perhaps stand up for a moment and think, okay, this becomes comfortable, and then make them bigger and bigger until they get to your 70%. So that's another way that you can learn that. And then you can do really slowly, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Okay, so perhaps raining it down, making small little mini movements and working your way up from there may well help you. Okay, Diane, I hear you. You've got knees swollen a little bit, so great. Carry on, watch, learn, use the class as a visual meditation, so that you're still part of it. You can still see yourself doing it, but you did the right thing just by sort of sitting out and giving yourself a bit of a break. And yes, of course, you can do this class, repeat this class anytime you wish, and this weekend will be the ideal time to do that. You're very welcome, Jackie. So that's the end of today's class, day 11. Day 12 tomorrow, and until then, have a fabulous, fabulous rest of the day. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.